Welcome to the Entrepreneur Gene. I'm your host, Laurie Barkman. Each week, we'll hear from founders and CEOs to explore key decisions they've made for growth, value creation, and challenges along the way. This show is sponsored by the Business Transition Sherpa, offering entrepreneur advisory services from transition to transaction. Don't forget to hit subscribe, follow us for the latest episodes, and visit thebusinesstransitionsherpa.com for more exclusive content. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Entrepreneur Gene. I'm Laurie Barkman. I am thrilled to be with an amazing father-son duo that have an incredible business together. John and Mark X Cronin are co-founders, and their father-son, like I said, and John has Down syndrome. They have created an amazing retail platform that they will talk about for John's Crazy Socks. They will also share with you some very, very amazing platforms that they've created to share happiness literally around the world. You two are the most famous people I think I've ever talked to. I just got to say, you've been on more videos and television, and I just loved preparing for this episode. I was a little bit nervous, I got to say, because John, I think you are really famous and I want to do right by you on this episode. So again, welcome to the stage, John and Mark.
Well, we are glad to be here and be with your audience, Laurie. We appreciate it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, thank you so much.
And let's not let this fame thing get to your head.
So, question for both of you. Is there an entrepreneurial gene, and what does it mean to you?
Well, I'm going to give you a slightly long-winded answer. I do think that within everybody there is an entrepreneurial gene, if you will. It may be dormant. I think of what in the U.S. we call method acting, but it's the Stanislavski School of Acting. You go inside yourself and you find the character, so that each of us could find that entrepreneurial gene in us, but it's more prominent in others. So I look at myself and I see this in John. Long before we had language, long before we were identifying something as entrepreneurial, you could see entrepreneurial behavior. I could see that in John. He's got two older brothers. I didn't really see it in them. So that's a long-winded way to say I do think some are more inclined to become entrepreneurs than others.
I would love to learn more about that. I would love to learn about what you saw in John and what he told you and why you went down the entrepreneurial path together.
Well, I do that background thing. And I'll share, you and some of my own stuff. John, this is a good little story. So you were in a summer program one year, right? I think you're at Woodhull.
Yeah.
And in town, I ran into the principal for the school, and she said, "Well, you must be so proud of John and the talent show he's organizing." And I said, "Man, I know nothing about this." And so this is what we find out. John decided the school should have a talent show, and he prepared a plan. You put together a slide deck.
I did.
And he goes in with his iPad and meets with the principal and presents, here, we should have this. And she gives him permission to go and organize it. So he goes through the school and organizes the talent show. And you were in like 6th or 7th grade when you did that.
I did.
He didn't tell us because he wanted it to be a surprise. But I'll give examples in my own life that I wound up looking back at. And some of it's funny and some of it's hilarious, borders on hilarious and even illegal. When I was a kid, now I'm old, so I'm the tail end of the baby boom. I grew up in suburban Long Island. There were kids all over the place. And it was a different day and age. Parents would just say, get out of the house, come back for dinner. So one of the things I did in 6th grade was I organized a baseball league, and every street had a team. I had to go and do that. When I was in high school, I organized a number of things, a basketball league, junior cut day. That got me thrown out of high school. But it took me back in eventually. In college, I organized, and this is where you get things. There's a book, The Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test, that Tom Wolfe wrote about Ken Kesey and the Merry Pranksters. And they would have these huge parties. And I'm reading about it thinking, I'd like to go to one of those. It might today be called a rave. And they had a house band called the Warlocks, who later became the Grateful Dead. And I'm reading this and saying, I'd like to go to a party like that. But I have no idea where they are. So I should throw one. So my second year of college, this is what I decided to do. I came back from Christmas break. I got some friends together and said, we're going to have a party. And we're going to have a party like you've never seen. And I turned to a bunch of them and I said, you're all going to put up $100. So I didn't use the term that I got investors or backers, but that's what they were. We took that money, and one of the things we did was we bought a pound of pot. And I gave it to somebody, and it said, all I want you to do is just keep reselling that. So we'd raise money. And every Wednesday night, I ran a keg party in my dorm. And you pay like $2 to come in for the keg party. And I would take $1 out of that and put it towards his 3-day party. And we went off and had this incredible time. We sold tickets. We had hundreds of people. We had bands. It was fabulous. And I look back at that and say, wow, that was pretty innovative.
You were ahead of your time. Look at you. You were an entrepreneur in junior high, in high school, and in college. Some of that has probably made its way to John, I'm guessing. John, have you heard these stories before about your dad?
Oh, I do.
Yeah, you weren't happy about some of them, were you?
Oh, yeah.
You're still upset about Junior Cut Day.
Okay, I'm not going to stay upset now.
But John, I have a question for you. You decided to start a company and you picked Crazy Socks. Why did you pick Crazy Socks?
Why socks?
Why socks? It's fun, it's colorful, it's creative. It's always going to be me. I want Crazy Socks for her life.
He used to, we'd drive around looking for these socks.
Yeah.
So we figured if he loved them that much, surely other people would too. We could find those people. But Laurie, it's worth, your audience hearing the context in which this happened. You go back to the fall of 2016, and where were you, buddy?
I was at Hunter High School. I'm going to be my last in school.
And John's like everybody else, trying to figure out, what am I going to do when school ends? And what were you looking at?
I looked at job, program, and school.
But
I can't find crap that I don't like.
so you mentioned that John has Down syndrome. This is an unfortunate reality. Only 1 in 5 people with the disability are employed in this country. But we're talking entrepreneurship. John's a natural entrepreneur.
Yes, I am.
Couldn't find a job. He said, I'll make one for myself.
Yes.
And, what would you tell me?
I told my partner I want to bitch with him. And nice fathers have been together.
Right? And, you asked about the gene. One good thing, I got 3 sons. This is one I could work with.
Yes.
But he's the one that wants to go and create things.
The other 2 didn't want to work with you?
The elder one, we've done some things. He's off on his own. The middle one, the second one, is working with us again. He's the Lord of the Socks. He runs our warehouse and fulfillment. But it wasn't always so. Family businesses are tricky. So he worked with us for a while and he left. And it was good that he left. Because if we kept working together, you would have found us both in a pool of blood on the floor with axes in our heads. He's back now. Things are good. But,
Well, startups aren't easy, and they're not easy when you're working with your sons. In this case, 2 sons were in the business in the early stages, and it sounds like you've had a transition. I want to learn from you, John. How do you see your role in the company?
My role is as chief happiness officer. As chief happiness officer, like entrepreneur, like I do videos and I'm helping out like pickle orders
Well, you do a lot of different things, but what's your main role? Not title. What's the main thing you do? You're the face of the business.
I've been, I'm sorry.
And
I'm
you
sorry.
set the tone for the business.
I did. I set my tone. I set up I set an advocate. I'm learning a lot, I learn from leadership, a little bit of leadership, and teamwork, and showing our community at
Well,
Blackpack.
So what are some of the things you do? They used to say that James
Yes.
Brown was the hardest working man in showbiz. John is the hardest working man in the city.
I am.
What are some of the things you do?
Most of the things I can do, like on video, like TikTok,
Right,
a lot of TikTok.
you make a lot of videos.
Yep, and I do. Sometime I help pick orders.
You pick orders.
Pack orders.
You were doing that today.
I did
packing orders?
today, and I really like
What?
a speaking engagement.
Do a lot of speaking engagements. You do this. You do podcast interviews.
Stuff.
Who do you speak with when you go on stage? I think I read that you've done 2 TED Talks. Is that right?
We've done 2 TEDx talks.
Yeah.
We have traveled across Canada, the U.S., Mexico, keynote speeches, 3 different audiences, 3 types of audiences. Entrepreneurs. We speak with a lot of entrepreneurs, or colleges and universities or entrepreneurial programs. We speak with a lot of groups that work with people with different abilities. So parent groups, conferences of agencies. And for them, it's really, let's make sure that there's encouragement and hope. And then a lot of businesses that want the inspirational talk, but we also drive, why hiring people with different abilities is good business. We drive why the social enterprise is a really important business model. But we've spoken at the United Nations.
Yeah.
We've testified twice before Congress, and now we have to add we were not subpoenaed.
Yes. Yes.
We went voluntarily.
You went voluntarily. What is one of the challenges that, John, that you're facing in running this business as a chief happiness officer? What is something that you are striving to do better?
I want to get better. I want to get better. Organized. I get organized, and I want to get leadership and advocate.
Well, you work at a lot of things. We're trying,
Nothing.
You hear this all the time, right? It almost sounds like a cliche. We learn so much from our children. John has taught me what real intelligence is. And I think the hallmark is curiosity. It's that willing to try to learn. And John here is always coming up the learning curve.
I do it all the time.
Always trying to figure out how to do things better. So here's an example. In our meeting rhythms, we start every day with a daily briefing, a 15-minute meeting. What's the first thing we do in the meeting?
In the meeting, we start our victory.
We go a whip around. Give us a victory that you've had in the last day.
Yes.
And then it's, what have you done? What are you up to? What do you need help on? And who runs those meetings?
I do.
Don't be late. He will kick your butt. And I know, because he's kicked my butt. And then stay on topic.
I will. I'm going to kick your butt.
One of the things I read about John's Crazy Socks, about your business, and correct me if I'm wrong, but half of the employees have different abilities. And I was wondering if you could talk about your practices in building a team of people who are all learning from each other in different ways.
Well, yes, more than half of our colleagues have a different ability. And it's both how we run the business, and it's the message we're trying to share. It's part of our mission to show what people with different abilities could do. And when I'm speaking to you in the audience, if you're a business owner, nowadays, DEI is very controversial. And to me, I think that's the wrong frame. If you run a business, Laurie, if you're running your business, what we all want to do is hire the best possible people for the salary we can afford to pay. If you exclude a group, you can no longer say you're hiring the best possible people. This doesn't say you have to have like a checklist of, well, I have to have 3 of these and 2 of those. And so for us, it's very practical. We do our own fulfillment.
Yeah.
Right? And that means we run a pick and pack warehouse. That's a boom industry. What do we call our pickers?
Sock wranglers.
Sock wranglers. We hear all the time, employers can't find enough good workers. Yet we have a surplus of good workers. So we're in our 9th year. And over those 9 years, we have pulled from 3 main labor pools for our warehouse. People with different abilities, moms, there's some dads in there, but it's not heavy lifting. And we schedule people in 4-hour shifts. You may do 8 hours, but 4 hours. So that means you can put your kid on the bus in the morning, come to work, and pick your kid up in the evening. And the third group are just general laborers who want a starting wage of $16.50, and we feed you and treat you well. By far, the best group are people with different abilities. They want to be here. They're enthusiastic. They care about what they're doing. And I want to be clear to the business owners out there, we don't lower our standards. In fact, it lets us raise our standards. To get that job, you have to pass a test. You have to show us you can do the job. We don't give out jobs. Everybody who works here knows he or she earned that job. They deserve to be here. Right? If you got to know John, you'd find out he's a very nice guy.
I am.
You are a nice guy. I am not. If you're going to work here, you got to produce. And let me share the results of that. We do same-day shipping. Our error rate is 0.2 of 1%.
Very small.
It's better than any other company's going to do. And that's because of the quality of the people we are. And they all just happen to have a differing ability.
I read that, and you live in Long Island.
Yep.
Huntington is in Long Island, and our audience might not know that, so I just wanted to share that. John, I read that when there's a local order, you hand deliver it. Is that correct?
Yes. I do home deliveries, and I will describe it. I put red boxes, and I put a sock in the box. I put a digging out road, and I wrote a prettily. And the back are storyboard and some great socks, and we put in candy. We put in lollipops. I put 2 lollipops, one for a customer, and the other one I give to a friend as you share. And I put it using in the car, and I go knock at doors, and customers response, customers love the socks, and customers love me.
Yes, they do. And they get candy, one for themselves and one to share. And I also read that you write a handwritten note for the orders. Do you do that for every order?
Yeah. Every order I get signature from me.
Let's be fair. When we first started, John literally sat down and hand wrote the orders. Well, we're closing in on 500,000 orders. He has not written 500,000 notes, but you get a handwritten note. You also see on your packing slip the name and the picture of the person who packed your order.
That's really a nice touch. I used to work in e-commerce, and e-commerce is about efficiency. It's, of course, building a brand, delivering on that brand through good experience. And the way you've built the brand for John's Crazy Socks, with John as your North Star, if I can say it that way. John is the face of the company, and you've built an operations to support him is really incredible. And I think I also read that you're the largest sock store with 19 100 SKUs of socks. Is that right?
How many different socks do we have?
All the socks that we have today is a 4,000 different kind of socks.
4,000.
John, we have more socks than anybody else. So we're not outselling Walmart and Target, but that makes us the world's largest sock store.
Because you have that many SKUs.
Yeah.
You have that many types of socks. If you love the insights on this show, you'll love the insights I share in my book, written for entrepreneurs like you who are building with your exit in mind. Take the next step in your business journey to make your business more scalable and valuable. Head on over to btsherpa.com/book to grab your free digital copy of the Business Transition Handbook. Or you can also click the link in the show notes, btsherpa.com/book.
In a lot of businesses, you get the 80-20 rule. 20% of your products account for 80% of your revenues. That's not what we experience. We have a long trail because people want to personalize what they do. So you can personalize designs. And then we have, socks like everybody else. We got a line of athletic socks, of compression socks, of dress socks. We have boring socks.
Yeah.
We now are getting ready to introduce a new collection of socks. Jamie's naughty socks.
Oh, yeah.
John, who has to approve everything we sell, does not approve anything untoward. Doesn't approve anything with profane language on it. But we're setting up a collection that Jamie is sneaking onto the website. Jamie is his brother. That these are socks John won't sell, but I got them for you. Like come into the back room and
Jamie's naughty socks.
Well, you mentioned something, and this may sound counterintuitive. You spoke about efficiency. We don't talk about efficiency. We talk about effectiveness. And what are you doing? So, I'll give you a few easy examples, and particularly those of you, and like you, Laurie, who have worked in e-commerce. Let's give the customers what they want. So here's one of the things they want. They want it to be easy. So as of Tuesday, we have free shipping on everything. We offer a 2-year guarantee on our socks. No questions asked. And free returns. And what the free returns really means is we don't want you to send the socks back. Give them to somebody else or keep them, but because we want it to be easy for the customer. That's one of the reasons we have such choices. Give the customers what they want. Let them find what they're going to want and love. And the way it pays off, we have over 33,000 5-star reviews. If you know about Net Promoter Score, we have a Net Promoter Score of 94.
That's extremely high. Out of 100 points, is it not?
Yes, it's so high as to be like unreal, but we keep asking the question and testing it. And our return rate, right? We told you 2-year guarantee, free returns. Our return rate on 500,000 packages is 1.2%.
No, those are great metrics. Your customers love what you're doing. And it sounds like you've created a culture within the company that your employees love being there too.
Yes. What's our mission?
Spread happiness.
Spreading happiness. So, here's a kind of a high level example. The old saw, the customer is always right. Nonsense. The customer can be dead wrong. But we're not in the business of being right. We're in the business of making people happy. And everybody is better off that way. We don't want to fight with our customers. They're the reason we're here. If they don't support us, we go home. Right?
Right.
I also saw that John has made some friends and shared some socks with them. And one particular story caught my eye with the late President George H.W. Bush, and that you honored his wife for the funeral with a very specific pair of socks. I was wondering, John, if you could tell me a little bit more about that.
Want to talk about President Bush?
Get that.
Why don't you tell? Who was he to you? What do you do? What do you send him?
I I sent him a box of the socks.
We we saw something. This is back in 2017 that he liked wearing crazy, colorful socks. And John said,
I said I want to send him the socks.
John says that a lot. Let's send him some
Thank you.
socks.
And some socks.
So we sent him a box of socks. And sometime later, we got a call back from his office saying the president loved that. Could he get more? We sent him more. He then sent John socks. So they became sock buddies. And he started tweeting out pictures of him wearing John's socks. And when Barbara Bush passed away, the office called and said, the president and the family would like to wear socks to honor her commitment to literacy. So we overnighted some book socks. And at her funeral, which was broadcast nationally, the president did not speak to the press. The only communication he had was to send out a picture of his socks. And we turned those into a tribute sock. We made tribute socks for the former president, but into a charity sock, one of our awareness socks that raises money for the Barbara Bush Foundation for Family Literacy.
That's beautiful. No, I love that. I saw that photo of him in the wheelchair and his feet were up on the little footrest and they were, I'll call them library socks. The books were sort of floating in the air. It was really, really beautiful. I took note of that. I was just thinking as we were talking, you're a sock influencer. You're a sockfluencer. You're influencing styles of famous people all over the world, spreading happiness. It's such a beautiful thing. The other thing I saw, John, is that I noticed on Tuesdays, you host a dance party. Is that right?
I host an online dance party every Tuesday, 3 p.m.
It's because, again, you refer to it as the North Star, right? You got to know what's your purpose? What are you about? So we get this pandemic. Remember, we had a pandemic. Everything shut down. It was bad for our business. Well, what are you going to do? And how are we going to spread happiness, right?
Right.
So the first thing we do is, we have to watch everybody's health. Many of our people are particularly vulnerable. Then, how can we handle this? Well, one of the things we did, we created healthcare superhero socks to thank the frontline workers. And those raised over $50,000 for the American Nurses Foundation and for a local hospital, Good Samaritan.
Yeah.
Good Sam, right? And then you say, well, what else can we do? How can we adapt? Well, one of the ways we made masks. But how do you spread happiness if everybody is isolated and shut down? A dance party. So you put this together, right? You put the playlist together and it's on Zoom. And some weeks you get 10 people, some weeks it gets 100 people. But there you go.
That's incredible to tune in and sign up for joining John online. This will be your 5th year of doing that. If you started it in 2020, this is 2025. That's incredible.
There was another thing we started then. We started doing a Facebook Live show, which we still do. And that's morphed into a podcast because, half of the world has a podcast. But John, always being creative, on every one of those Facebook Live shows and every podcast, you tell some jokes.
Yeah, you do.
And so now what are you writing? What are you publishing?
I'm publishing a giant book of jokes.
John's giant book of jokes. Because now he's got 5 years of jokes. And
Is that going to be a gift with purchase for 10 or more socks in a box? You get John's book?
It probably will be,
Oh, that's great. There was another example, Mark, that you had shared with me off air that I thought was really interesting, of how you were trying to bring groups together, the Unity Sock.
Yeah. So we're in a bad way in this country. We are divided, people are yelling and screaming, and too often if I disagree with you, I vilify you. So one of the things we did, and we were always promoting unity, we made Unity socks. They're these beautiful dark blue socks with American flags on them. And we sent them to every member of Congress. And we went down to Capitol Hill and we got Republican and Democratic congressmen to join us and say, come on, folks, we can talk to each other. We can find common ground. And we that's something we promote. We're very active advocates, not partisan, but focusing on issues around people with differing abilities. Um, and some of that's because of the story, because of the media coverage we've had. People will listen to us. I mean, look at you, Laurie. You put us on your podcast. How wonderful is that? But that creates an obligation for us to speak up, to use that. And we've done that. We'll be down on Capitol Hill again in April. We go twice a year. We're part of the CEO Commission for Disability Employment. We stay very focused. Recently, I published an open letter to Elon Musk because he was repeatedly using the R word and just said, you're better than that. Didn't call him out, called him in and spoke about why it's hurtful and why it's damaging and invited him to come and meet John and come and see our coworkers. That now has over 1 million views and has been shared a lot. And that's humbling that we could reach that many people. But if we have this opportunity, we have to use it, but do it in a way that's not driving people away. It's not judgmental. It's, come on, we can be better than that.
Yeah, no, I love that. And being so clear on your purpose is amazing. I ask a lot of people on this show and off air about purpose. We talk about it. You probably won't be surprised to know that a lot of people are not clear on their purpose. And I ask about purpose in two ways. What is your purpose in the business and what is your purpose outside the business? In your experience, both of you, it's so meshed, right?
Yes.
It's really meshed and it's so clear. And you stick to the things that make the impact, which is having the wonderful impact on the business. I can't help but notice as someone in marketing that, and I'm kind of not really joking about the Sockfluencer thing, that all the media and promotion of the cause is also at the same time promotion of the business, and your business has grown and benefited from that. And I say, good for you. I think that's amazing. It lines up. There's nothing wrong with driving awareness and then also the commerce, because as you've mentioned, your commerce gives back to the awareness in a lot of ways. And so it's a very wonderful, self-fulfilling cycle, don't you think?
It's the way for us to be. I do think every organization, you have to know your purpose, what Simon Sinek will call your why. You have to know your values. And the values aren't real until you're willing to put money behind them. And then they drive through everything you do. But for us, we've gone out and counted. It turns out there are exactly 1 gazillion sock companies out there. And if all we're doing is selling socks, what do we say? Ours are better than yours.
And that smells like you.
Don't smell like yours. Or, you try to be the cheapest. But because of our story, because of the mission and what we do, that differentiates us. So at the end of the day, we're not really a sock store. The socks become the physical manifestation for the story and the purpose. And it does drive everything we do. And everybody's got to be on board. Here's an example of that. So one of our 5 pillars is we're going to make this personal. We're going to build relationships with our customers. So we put candy in every package, and we could tell you that the different ones we put in and how that goes. But one day, one of our happiness packers comes and says, we sell socks for diabetics, and we're sending them candy. What's wrong with that picture? So now we have a supply of sugar-free candy that goes out. It doesn't take much. Just Pay attention to what you're doing.
That's beautiful advice. It's easy once you think about it. Oh my goodness. It's like we call it the blinding flash of the obvious, right?
You never get there. You're always evolving. But there's nothing we do that qualifies as rocket science. Just be decent. Just take care of people, right? Well, our mission is spreading happiness. This comes back to you saying, well, people aren't always sure. We talk about that all the time. It drives our budget. It drives what we do with marketing. It drives how we answer the phone and the colors of the walls and the benefit packages we have for our for our colleagues. And what do you say the keys to happiness?
It's gratitude to for others.
Gratitude and do for others. The more we can do for you, the better off we are. So you mentioned efficiency before. We don't have to be efficient. We got to be effective. We got to take care of people. Here's another example of that. And it's also an example of you got to put your money behind what matters. So the candy. When we started, what candy will we put in packages?
We started Hershey Kisses.
Hershey's Kisses. Everybody loved that, right?
Yes.
You'd open your package, you could smell the chocolate. And everybody loved it until we hit our first spring. And we got the email from the woman in Florida saying, you may not want to send chocolate to the South. So we wound up switching. We eventually settled on Skittles. And we sent out more than 300,000 packages of Skittles. And I kept knocking on the door of the Mars Corporation saying, we should collaborate. And eventually we spoke to the right grand executive who said, well, this is all nice, love what you do, but we work with the NFL and NASCAR. We don't really need you guys. So I wasn't going to buy more Skittles. And our Lord of the Socks, he went and he found a lollipop place. Great, we'll do lollipops. And how many did you say?
2.
2. Well, we have some strategic partners, and they were like, nah, why do we even put candy in? That's not helping anybody. We're just spending money. You should only do 1 lollipop. It's like, guys, if I got to explain to you why it's got to be at least 2, we're lost, right? And it's like, yeah, but we could save 5 cents a package. No.
That's not the point. No, that's a wonderful example. I'm going to remember that. I'm going to share that. I just, for everybody listening, it's about the big picture, aligning the mission, the purpose, and what our teams do every day to deliver that value to our customer, and they will keep coming back. I am so grateful for your time, John and Mark, and we are coming towards the end of our time together today. So I want to ask each of you if there's anything you want to share that we didn't talk about or I didn't ask you about. Is there anything else you want to share today?
Well, you got a lot of business owners out there. We're 2 things. Ask yourself exactly what you've been raising, Laurie. What are you doing? Why are you doing this, and what impact are you having? The smallest business can have a profound impact in the community. And if you're hiring, consider hiring people with different abilities. It's not altruism, it's good business.
It's good business. It's a beautiful message. No, I love that. We'll share that far and wide. John, how about for you? Is there anything else that you want to share today?
Yeah, where can people find us?
I'll go at johnscrazysocks.com.
John's Crazy Socks.
CrazySocks.com. And we will also include that link in the show notes so everybody can go check out John's Crazy Socks. And if you sign up on the website, you'll even get a discount. I noticed that. So that's worth checking out also. I'll give you guys a little plug there. Hey, thank you both so much for coming on today. I didn't mean to cut you off, Mark. Was there something else you wanted to say?
I was just going to say we're on all the social media platforms. Just look for John's Crazy Socks. If there's something that we can do to help you, I'm the only Mark X Cronin on LinkedIn. Just reach out through the website and come join the dance party.
Yeah, come join a dance party every Tuesday. Hey, well, I'll also give you guys another plug. You also do custom socks, which is pretty cool. So if you have a corporate event, something you want to do and share some special socks, this is your team. Well, we'll wrap it up here. I want to thank again my guests, Mark X Cronin and John Cronin from John's Crazy Socks. It was really special to be with both of you today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay? The entrepreneurial gene.
The entrepreneurial gene, which you definitely have.
And we should give a pitch, right? Listen to the Entrepreneurial Gene podcast.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you for the big plug. I love it. I love it so much. And to thank you to our audience. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend. Be sure to like and subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast platform. You can also watch this video and the videos from our sister podcast, Succession Stories, on YouTube. Check out the Business Transition Sherpa channel. So this has been another great episode of The Entrepreneur Gene. Thanks again to my guests, and we'll see you next time. Hey, that's a wrap. This show is sponsored by the Business Transition Sherpa, working with entrepreneurs who want to escape feeling like a prisoner in their own business and to eventually let go flawlessly. If you loved today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast. And if you want to help support the Entrepreneur Gene, I'd encourage you to leave a rating and review. Ratings and reviews truly help our show grow and get in front of more entrepreneurs just like you. If you do leave a rating and review, we'll be so happy. Take a screenshot of it, send it to my email, Laurie@btsherpa.com, and we'll send you a free digital copy of my book, The Business Transition Handbook. And we'll also enter you to win one of our monthly swag boxes. For show notes, including links to everything in today's episode, be sure to visit btsherpa.com. Also, as a reminder, you can watch this full video interview on our YouTube channel for the Business Transition Sherpa. While you're there, be sure to check out videos from our award-winning podcast called Succession Stories. We'll see you next time on The Entrepreneur Gene.